Welcome back to another episode of Lock It or Leave It. I'm your host, Cam McPherson. You obviously noticed that Jeremy is not with us today, but we're still going to have a great episode. We are days away from a potential TikTok ban, so we are going to be shooting more long form content going forward. If you are finding us from TikTok, I appreciate you coming over. You'll see my friend Aaron Ackerman a lot more, but I'll just let him go ahead and introduce himself. Go ahead.
How's it going? Great to be here, Cam. I'm a little worried as well about the TikTok ban. Now, I'm interested to see what'll take its place and how that goes with content because there's quite a few apps circulating right now in the App Store. I think the number one is an even more explicitly Chinese app called Xiaohongshu. So we'll see how long that one lasts. A lot of great options, though. You'll be able to find it. We ain't hard to find.
Yeah, and we'll be shooting more content going forward. Today, we're just going to be going through the divisional matchups and some of our thoughts from what we saw in those games. So let's just get right into it. Chargers, Texans. Obviously, Texans really steamrolled the Chargers. Wasn't really that close. Nico Collins and CJ Stroud connection was on fire. Great game from CJ. A lot of people are throwing Justin Herbert under the bus on this one. What were your thoughts on this early performance?
I think everything that could go wrong for the Chargers did go wrong. I don't think it was Justin Herbert's fault necessarily. I think there's a little bit of everything. I mean, he had issues with the offense, with the defense, and really even the special teams with that extra point that was blocked in return for 2 points by the Texans. So, people love to place the blame on the quarterback, and Herbert did not have a great game. I'm not going to say he was, awesome, but I don't think he had that bad of a game. I think the numbers are a little bit worse than they probably should be due to some receiving issues. So, if you're the Chargers, I mean, you're in a tough spot right here. You're kind of in that little purgatory zone. I don't know what they'll do, but I think they should definitely keep Justin Herbert. The question is with the rest of the roster.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, box score watchers are definitely just going to throw Justin Herbert under the bus. But if you did watch that game, they really need to find a consistent number two. I mean, Quentin Johnston had 5 targets and 0 catches. I mean, outside of Lad McConkey, not a single other wide receiver was really helping Justin Herbert at all. And that just can't happen when it comes to playoff time. But we'll go ahead and keep it moving. Ravens, Pittsburgh, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry absolutely ran over this Pittsburgh defense. I mean, I think they combined for almost 250 plus rush yards. That rushing attack looks absolutely lethal, and the Ravens kind of look like a wagon right now. Going to be interesting to see them going forward, but what does Pittsburgh do from here?
Pittsburgh is in a similar purgatory, I think, as the Chargers. I think the issue here is that Steelers don't have nearly as good of a quarterback as Justin Herbert. So it makes it a lot easier and to decide what they should do, which is tear it all the way down. I think you got to get rid of Tomlin. You got to clean house on the roster. This roster is just not high level enough to be able to compete for a title. They'll make the playoffs every year. Sure, they'll get 10, 9, maybe even 11 wins. But if you want a title, you got to tear it down. You got to do the rebuild the right way here.
Yeah, the biggest issue for me is just neither quarterback on that roster, whether it's Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, can be that superhero in crunch time and go head to heads with the Lamar Jacksons and the Josh Allens of the world. It's never going to happen. And in a conference that's as tough as the AFC, you're going to need a guy like that if you ever really want to be a true competitor. But we'll go ahead and keep it moving to the other quote unquote belt to ass game we saw. Bills, Denver. I mean, Josh Allen is playing arguably the best football of his career right now with not a lot of weapons around him. He's just absolutely putting the S on his chest and carrying this Bills offense. But Denver, I mean, a lot of people would say Bo Nix had a surprising rookie season compared to what some of his expectations are. I know how you and I obviously feel about Bo Nix. I mean, he led the NFL in check down attempts this season, and he was the least accurate quarterback when throwing to the middle of the field. So I know how you and I aren't very much high on the Broncos, but where do you see them going from here?
I just don't think Bo Nix is the guy for them. I mean, he had a better season than I expected he would, but it wasn't a good season. You look at his efficiency numbers, his CPOE and his EPA, they weren't very good. The real difference between last year's Broncos squad with Russell Wilson, who actually had better efficiency numbers, and this year's Broncos squad is the defense. So that's why I think the credit for this Broncos season should go to the defensive coordinator and the front office for the work that they've done in rejuvenating this defense. Bo Nix, and you got to remember as well, he's not super young. He's what 24, going to be 25. So he's pretty much the finished product. What you see is what you get, more or less, at this point. So I don't think Bo Nix is the guy in Denver long term.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that he played a college football game against Joe Burrow, who was in year 5 of the NFL at that point. That's a crazy stat for a rookie. But moving out of the AFC, let's jump on over to the NFC matchups. Packers Eagles. The Eagles looks like arguably the most complete team in the playoffs right now on both sides of the ball. That defense is clicking. I mean, obviously Saquon Barkley is probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year this season. They're still a threat through the air with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. And if Jalen Hurts can continue to play mistake-free football, they're going to be a tough team to beat. What did you see in that game?
I think top to bottom, outside of quarterback, the Eagles might have the best roster in the league right now. Jalen Hurts is not quite that elite tier of quarterback, although he's very good. And I think given the rest of the roster, that might be enough. I'm higher than probably most people would be on the Eagles. I think they have a great chance to make a real run given their position right now.
Yeah, you and I talked about this earlier, but I think Jalen Hurts is arguably the toughest quarterback to place when you're ranking QBs because he's just shy of that godlike tier of the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, but he's definitely not in the game manager type of group. So he's anywhere between whether you want to put him closer to 10 or closer to 4 to 5. He's got to be somewhere in that ranking. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of different opinions on where he falls on that scale. But we had to talk about this. I know you're upset about it, but Tampa, Washington in Tampa Bay. Obviously, that game did not go the way you wanted, but I'll let you take it from here and just what went wrong for Tampa and what did you see from the Commanders that will make them a threat going forward?
Offensively, I didn't think the Bucks had a bad game. They had two real mistakes that really cost them the game that was, a swing of 10, 11 points. First one was obviously the fumble deep in their own territory. It was a timing play. The center was a split second too slow at the snap. The handoff gets fumbled, and then, Washington's got the ball, scored right after. That one, tough play, but that's pretty rare to happen. It's not something that's going to happen a lot, so can't be too mad about it. And the other one is another timing issue with the early snap on the handoff to Bucky Irving on third and short in Washington territory for the Bucks, turned a touchdown into a field goal. So that one as well kind of hurt. And both of those plays really, those were drives that could have iced the game, could have won the game right there. So the credit really here has to go to Jayden Daniels. The Bucks defense didn't play great, but Jayden Daniels took advantage of it. The Bucks defense didn't play bad. They were beating the Washington offensive line every single play. There's a ton of pressure on Daniels. He kept squirming out of it, scramble up the field, find the open man. A lot of third and long, even fourth and long scenarios where he bailed out Washington. Credit to Dan Quinn as well for having the balls to go for it in those situations. So Washington is going to be a tough out for any team given their offensive firepower and the coaches that really understand Daniel's game and believe in him.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Bucks going forward is finding a way to keep Liam Cohen in the building and out of a head coaching job. We saw what he's done the last couple of seasons with that Bucks offense, and especially, I don't want to say bringing Baker back from the dead, but bringing him to being top 3 in touchdowns the past couple of seasons or wherever he finished this year. We got to keep that. They need to keep that guy in the building. As far as Washington goes, they're going to go as far as this Jayden Daniels run can run. Basically, I mean as long as those legs keep moving, they're going to be a threat and they're going to be in every matchup. But I don't know if it's going to be enough against Detroit. Finishing up Monday Night Football, Vikings Rams. I was on the right side of this one. I believed in this Rams offense. I knew this was going to be a chess match going in between that Brian Flores defense and that Sean McVay offense. And obviously, Sam Darnold, magical season, has had a bad past 2 games. A lot of people were throwing Sam underneath the bus, saying that basically we should run him out of town for JJ McCarthy. What do you think about the Vikings going forward, and how do you feel about the Rams as well?
Credit to the Vikings first off for winning 14 games this year. Very impressive season, nothing to hang their heads at. But I think the story here isn't necessarily the Vikings not playing well last night. I think it's that young Rams defense really coalescing and playing great last night. The three young guys they have, Kitchens, Fisk, and Verse, have been terrific this year, and they've really
Excellent.
turned it on even more as the postseason's come. And I was not super high on the Rams going into the postseason. I think I was on the other side of this matchup. I was a bit wrong. But overall, really impressed with the Rams. I don't know if they have the firepower to make a run, but very impressive stuff from them.
Yeah, I mean, if this defense continues to play at this level, they're going to be in every matchup regardless. So for them to make an actual run, it's going to come down to, can Matthew Stafford maintain the style of play we saw from him the other night? Because that Matthew Stafford is the same one I saw win a Super Bowl not too long ago. So if he can maintain that style of play and the defense continues to play lights out, they're going to be a tough matchup for everyone. But that's going to wrap up this episode. We don't want to keep these too long, but we're definitely going to keep cranking out more long form content, specifically if TikTok does go under, which looks like it may. Aaron, you got any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, just really excited for this upcoming Bills Ravens game this weekend. I'm officially on the Ravens bandwagon. I spoke to a friend this morning who's been a longtime Ravens fan, and I lived in Maryland for a few years when I was little, and was an Orioles season ticket holder, and went to a bunch of games up at M&T. So all in on the Ravens, all in on my fellow South Florida man, Lamar Jackson. Very excited to see what happens with this game. A lot of offensive firepower, a lot of cool schemes. So really looking forward to this weekend of football.
Yeah, should be a good weekend. And I mean, we got to appreciate all the football we have left because we're almost out of it. But that's all for now. If you've listened to this whole episode from TikTok, you're now my new favorite listener. So I appreciate it. And that's it. See you guys soon.